National's ranks, because I think this government has a very proud track record of looking after our environment. We are determined to safeguard the environment, and it is an absolute fundamental bottom line for us, as is safety and transparency around it. And it is through that lens that we want to look very carefully at all of the assets that we have, and that includes our mineral and our oil resources. National has an excellent track record on environment and conservation. Over the past 3 years alone, for example, we've cleaned up our lakes and our rivers with our Fresh Start for Freshwater program. In March of this year on the North Shore, I hosted the Blue-Green Forum, where we made some significant announcements, including providing $265 million to clean up iconic waterways such as Lake Taupo and the Waikato River. We have also improved our air quality, which is amongst the cleanest in the world now. We launched Warm Up New Zealand Heat Smart, a nationwide scheme which has now resulted in the insulation and heating for 188,500 homes. We've helped minimise waste, almost $10 million this year alone from the Waste Minimisation Fund. And that really works because it encourages people to look after their own waste, to reduce it, to reuse it and to recycle it. We've empowered communities, enhancing environmental awareness in the community. $7.6 million. This government puts the money where it counts and where it can make a difference. $105 million to 16 community groups announced just last week to help them improve the environment. Very exciting regional efforts. Now let's contrast those very tangible, make a difference measures with our government to what's happened in the past. The party in particular that calls itself the Greens. Now let's have a little look at the measurement of their effectiveness and commitment. Let's look at question time in the House. I did a bit of homework on this. In the past couple of months, the Greens have done 26 questions. Of those, how many do you think reflected the environment in any way at all?
22?
5. And that's a stretch. There were 2 on mineral exploration, 2 on climate change and 1 on fracking. Really, when we look at the Greens, we're looking at a party that are not exactly bright green, are they? They're more your watermelon greens. They're kind of green on the outside. The more you cut into them, the more red they appear. We're looking at a guy, for example, the Australian co-leader, who clearly harbours aspirations to be the Minister of Finance if the unholy alliance of Labor and the Greens ever get off the ground. These are the people who have a woeful, insignificant contribution to any discussion of substance around the environment and conservation. The opposition parties in general, Labor and the Greens, as my other colleagues have detailed, have opposed every single growth initiative we have proposed. Their naysaying ways have been well documented in the House this afternoon. I mean, Labor's bad enough, but the Greens just automatically chorus no, no, no to any growth initiatives, except when it comes to taxes. They love taxes. We have an earthquake levy on households, ecological resource taxes, hazardous substances and pesticides levy, a corporate tax, a diesel tax, a landfill tax, a carbon tax on energy-intensive imports. But wait, there's more. As well as supporting Labor's daft capital gains tax and wanting to make the ETS even more burdensome and overseas investment laws even more restrictive, the Greens also want to saddle the poor farmers with an irrigation tax, costing them, get this, up to $50,000 a year. This is absolutely despite the fact that water pollution is not related to the irrigation intensity. Our ministers, Minister Kate Wilkinson and Amy Adams, have a firm grasp of what works for the environment. Labor will need the Greens and any government they manage to cobble together in whatever peculiar unholy allowance they manage to do. It would be bad news for farmers. It would be really bad news for our environment and conservation. Labor's environmental and conservation track record is woeful, and they're of course supported by their watermelon mates. Let's look at some of the other things they did. They allowed 30,000 hectares of forest to be cut down. That was just between 2005 and 2008. Deforestation. How good is that? Yeah, Labor, propped up by the watermelons. Insulated only 50,000 homes in the whole 9 years of their last term in government. We've insulated 130,000 in 3 years. A conspicuous lack of progress on water. They are woeful. We have the best lands.
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jan Logie.